Yeah, I put my dad in the street against a heavyweight.
I've gone back to the dad. I've punched him a few more times.
There's 5 blokes outside my front door. Can you come and help
One
me?
hell of a fucking story, so stay tuned.
This is KUGAN CASSIUS for IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast Winners. Sheffield here, ahead of the show this Saturday night, live on The Zone. Dalton Smith taking on Sam O'Mason for the British title and a whole host of other fights. How are you, Edward?
I'm very well. I just firstly want to say congratulations on your recent success of the launch of your new podcast. I think this is a major move for you as IFL continue to branch out and diversify. I've listened, it's very entertaining. I urge all IFL listeners to listen to KUGAN CASSIUS' new podcast. And I hope you enjoy it.
Amazing. Raw, The Fight Within, launches 8th.
Was that okay?
Oh, you have to ruin it,
I'm
don't you?
only joking. You didn't really ask me to do that before we went on.
But I will say, good luck with Matchroom's new podcast as well,
you.
with Jamie Ward.
Yes.
Flash Knockdown.
Correct.
Sounds very interesting. It's not a rival, it's not really what we're doing. We're going a different route to you, mate.
There's no rivalries, just friends.
Friends. Oh, friends. Right, Edward, come on. Jump straight into it. Mate, do not tell me there ain't a problem with this Ben and Eubank fight now, please.
It's not a problem, it's not done. I told everyone, we got together, what was it?
Last Wednesday, 8 days ago.
Yeah, and said, oh, what's happening? I said, nothing, you've not heard anything from me or Callis Howland to say, it's done, it's on the verge, it's this. There are ongoing talks between myself and Callis Howland to make this fight. It's the biggest fight in British boxing, probably outside of Fury against AJ, and who knows, even beyond that. It's not an easy fight to make on many different levels. We have the date of October the 8th. That's Conor Benn's next fight date, regardless of who it is. But we would like to make that fight, and I think everybody realises how big that fight is, but we'll see if it gets made. And all I can tell you is it's 9 weeks on Saturday, so we'll be making a decision on Conor Benn's next fight in the next few days, and I hope that it is that fight, but I can't stand here now and tell you it will be or that's signed, because it's not.
Can you tell us what if there are kind of issues why this fight may not get made, what are they?
Not really. I mean, you can imagine, you know, it's a guy.
Is the weight one of them? No.
Not really an issue, but that's obviously something that has serious concern on everybody's
in the rehydration,
and it's not. We're not arguing over weight. We're not arguing over anything, really. We're talking through stuff, but it's a complicated fight. I mean, firstly, it's 2 huge names. Secondly, you've got one guy coming up from welterweight, one guy coming down from middleweight. Where they're going to meet, what's the rehydration? But we're not. You know, there's nothing I can tell you right now that's stopping this fight from happening. The conversations with myself and Calla are pleasant and honest, and we all want to make the biggest fights possible. It's just a big fight, and these things take time, but time will run out, you know, and we're reaching that time. If they want the fight, Chris Eubank Jr., the fight is there. Conor Benn wants the fight, and hopefully it all gets ironed out.
It doesn't look great though, just from an outside perspective, does it? I don't know, it just doesn't. Don't say there's not, like there hasn't been a delay, because...
No, but you're saying it doesn't look great because you heard what someone said on Twitter. Like, if I would have come to you a week ago and 2 weeks ago and gone, oh, we're on the verge, any day now. We've never said that. Myself and Calla have never said it's close, we're on the verge, like it's imminent. We're just negotiating a fight. It's reporters and Twitter that's saying, when are you going to announce it? I've heard it's done. Have you? Oh, right, okay, you could have just asked me. But it's never been done. It's never been like necessarily on the verge. Is it getting closer? Yeah, I think it is. Will it get done? I can't tell you. But you're just listening to what other people saying, oh, it don't look very good because...
I spoke to you 8 days ago,
I
though.
never did. I tell you it was on the verge.
I know, but I'm just saying.
I'd tell you if it was. How many times do I say next week, couple of days, this way? But I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be tomorrow, next week, couple of days, or not at all. I'd like it to happen. I would. I think it's a tremendous fight. But my responsibility is the career of Conor Benn. That's his date, and he has to have a big fight on that date. We're keeping our options open, but if you ask Conor Benn, he wants that fight.
All right, one last question. Is it fair to say then, on Saturday night, if we're not talking about this as a confirmed fight after Smith and O'Mason, then it's probably not going to happen.
No, not necessarily. I mean, we always 8 weeks is the perfect time really to get underway with ticket sales. We've got 9 days or 8 days, so you know I think it's not, if it's not done by Saturday, it's not happening. But of course, like, we're doing our own business, and what they do is up to them, and Wasserman and Chris Eubank Jr. Hopefully it all comes together, but we're focusing on Conor Benn, and we've got options in place should this fight not take place. But I'll be honest, that's the fight that we all want.
Okay, let's move on from there. Let's talk about the card this weekend in Sheffield. Dalton Smith and Sam O'Mason for the British title, which headlines a stacked card here. Very interesting fight for Dalton Smith.
Yeah, and we say we're put under pressure, but STN and Sean O'Toole, for a long time they wanted Dalton Smith to headline in Sheffield, and you know that we're trying to do the biggest shows possible, so the only way we can do a fight like this is part of the Next Gen series, and this card is perfect for the Next Gen series. Sold a huge amount of tickets for a Next Gen fight. The city have really got behind Dalton Smith. The city believe that this kid could be a future star of British boxing, but it's a tough fight. I expect him to win, but Sam O'Mason's a very good fighter. He sold a huge amount of tickets, as is Dalton. It's 2 Sheffield kids fighting for the British title at Sheffield Arena, and I think we're going to get a really good fight. Great undercard as well, and I think Dalton Smith's got to he's got to put in one of those performances where you say, this kid's good. I think this kid can go on and beat the likes of, or be competitive against the likes of Teofimo Lopez, Josh Taylor, Ramirez, these great fighters at 140, but if you can't steamroll Sam O'Mason, no disrespect to Sam O'Mason, who's a very good domestic fighter, then I can't talk like that. So I'm looking for a standout performance from Dalton Smith where people tune in on DAZN on Saturday say, wow, this kid is very, very good.
Very interesting and a crucial fight for Sandy Ryan as she rematches Farias. It's a big risk to take this rematch, isn't it?
I feel for Sandy Ryan because I was at the Commonwealth Games last night, which I loved, right? Because it just... Professional boxing, it's littered with like a little bit of poison because it's a money game, right? It's prize fighting. And when you go to the Commonwealth Games, it's so pleasant. No one's fighting for money. Like everyone's just there to win. You know, it's like the pureness of sport. And I feel like Sandy Ryan has had a couple of fights, then she's dived straight into a massive fight with Farias, which is very difficult. And she's kind of like experienced the brutality of the professional game, which is people just writing you off, slagging you off, saying, well, you're done anyway, you lost. And she was probably too mouthy early on, so sometimes you've got to take the rough with the smooth. But she's locked herself away for 3 months. She's in unbelievable shape. Can we just give her the credit for taking this rematch again, straight off the bat, and also give her the credit if she wins, that this was incredibly gutsy and ballsy, and this is a real talent. Because there's too many people I've seen already saying, well, if she loses on Saturday, that's her career over. She had 4 fights after Saturday. So let's just encourage people to take risks and try and be great, rather than shirking the rematch and going to do a 6-rounder and like losing momentum. It's a big fight for her, and you know she's got a very tough fight in Farias.
Run me through the rest of the card. Jordan Thompson, Campbell Hatton.
Yeah, Jordan Thompson, I feel like this kid is right up there at the moment. Forget in 3 or 4 fights with Chris Billam-Smith, with Richard Riakporhe, obviously Lawrence Okoli's world champion, Dion Juma, you know, these very good fighters at on the domestic scene at the moment. Isaac Chamberlain, great performance. We've got to see it. Like Vasil Ducar has had good fights with Billam-Smith, good fights with Riakporhe, competitive fights, gone the distance. Jordan Thompson punches very, very hard. Let's see if he can stop him, but let's see if he can win. And if he wins by stoppage, let's go and make those Riakporhe fights, Billam-Smith fights now. Because this kid's a talent. You know, he's not a spring chicken, he's still young and fresh. But I like it because I think he's like the dark horse of the division. People know how good he is in boxing. They're not going to be rushing to fight him. But we've got to build his profile, make him big enough to make those fights big enough to entice the names that I just mentioned.
Okay.
Oh, do you want me to run through it as well? Okay, you got Campbell Hatton coming out, and what is his 8th fight? Incredible. Johnny Fisher, over 1,000 fans coming for the Romford Ball. Great to see him back after a hand operation as well. Hopey Price stepping up in a tough fight for him at the weekend. Also, you've got Aqib Fiaz back. Kieran Conway, who's warming up for Ammo Williams as well. Just look out for Nico Levers and particularly Junaid Boston. Saw your clip from 8 years ago. A real good talent who can really jump on the coattails of Dalton Smith as he starts to headline in this city.
Okay, let's talk about some other things. What's your thoughts on reports that Alexander Usyk is going to air the fight in Ukraine for free?
Yeah, great. I mean, Ukraine is, you know, it's all these fights are always broadcast in Ukraine. It's a relative small market in terms of the monetary value, but still they get good money from the national broadcaster, which is obviously chose to broadcast this fight for free in that territory. Yeah, nice.
Have effects on numbers though, doing that?
Over in Ukraine? Yeah,
Not necessarily. I'm on about people that, I don't know, that could choose to watch it on that kind of platform.
You're talking about illegally streaming?
I'm talking about, well, with the aid of a VPN or whatever.
No, I think at the end of the day, you know, there's going to be hundreds of countries and platforms airing this fight around the world. It's up to the broadcaster to make sure that that's all secure.
Okay, let's talk about Canelo Golovkin, UK pay-per-view. Comments from Joe Markowski have been publicised this week, saying from previous interviews that this fight would never ever be on pay-per-view in the UK, is on pay-per-view in the UK, so can you make comment on that?
Just think that some of these interviews get pulled up from a year ago, sometimes 2 years ago. Things change, opinions change, business changes. Through the launch of their pay-per-view, they always said it's for the mega fights. Canelo Triple G is a mega fight. Of course, it's $69 in America, whatever it is, pretty much standard pay-per-view price, and it's much cheaper over here. But I think the last fight was pay-per-view on box office. I believe this fight is bigger. It's just a decision by DAZN to put a big fight on pay-per-view.
But when the comments are kind of that direct, even from however long ago, when they're that kind of specific that this will not happen, then when they get pulled up on...
Yeah, you're always going to pull up on interviews. Things change, businesses change, you learn more about subscription, you learn more about pay-per-view, platforms introduced. I think at that time, they wouldn't have done the fight on pay-per-view, and that's why he said it. At this time, they've chosen to. I'll say it's as simple as that, but you can't always pull up an interview from 3 or 4 years ago. It doesn't matter. I could pull up an interview, not that you would have done one, but we could have had a conversation 2 or 3 years ago, and you could have said, I'd never do that, and 2 or 3 years later, life changes, the world changes, your feelings change, your mind changes, and you're doing that. So who knows what the future holds? Whatever I say now might not be the same in 2 years, might not be the same tomorrow. I'll let you know.
Just your thoughts on the
But one thing I will always tell you is what I tell you now, I tell you from the heart and in truth. But that can change. Hearts can change, truth can change.
Thoughts on Parker and Joyce being announced today for the 24th in Manchester?
I mean, that's an example. That's pay-per-view, which it should never be a pay-per-view fight. You know, I mean, but it is because these guys want a lot of money. So it's like when you asked me about Sky's pay-per-view price. The business has to make sense somehow. It's not just let's just give it away and lose a load of money. They're trying to make that fight work. And if you look at Joe Joyce and Joseph Parker, the only way they could make that fight work financially is to take a punt on pay-per-view. I don't know what's happened. Joseph Parker signed with Sky. Obviously they couldn't get him a fight, so they took this fight instead. It's a good fight. It's a good fight for Joe Joyce as well, who needs that test. And you know, I'm sure it'll be an entertaining clash.
Okay, where are we on John Ryder and Jaime Munguia?
No, just still talking to Golden Boy at the moment for that fight. It's definitely the fight that we want next for John Ryder, and hopefully we can make that happen.
Josh Warrington?
Josh Warrington will defend his title. We got, obviously, that Lee Wood wants to fight Maurizio Lara, which is fucking outrageous, but there is a chance September 24 we're going to have, which is Lee Wood's date. It's going to be a huge card in Nottingham. If we can land Maurizio Lara, it's just an epic fight, so we'll see where that takes us. And then we have Joe Cordina, Josh Warrington, Katie Taylor to announce their dates as well for the UK. And also the negotiations between Bivol and Boazzi, Dillian White conversations as well.
What's going on with them?
Just talking, looking at options for him. He's speaking to everybody. Josh Warrington, going back to that, will defend his titles on probably October, November against his mandatory, the Mexican fighter as well. It's a very, very dangerous fight, but he has to deal with that. And hoping that fight, well, it will take place should we have successful negotiations in Leeds.
You spoke about on your Instagram Live about Chisora and that Tyson Fury situation. What more can you tell us on that?
Yeah, Chisora was approached by Tyson Fury's representatives, or someone representing Tyson Fury, made him an offer to fight Tyson Fury in December. Wasn't enough money, they went back. I don't see that fight happening, but we'll see what happens.
Okay, you've got a lot of, not criticism, but you've got a lot of comments for your comments. A lot of comments for your comments the other day about stating that Tyson Fury isn't the biggest draw in boxing. I saw that being picked up on, but I suppose you've always said that anyway.
I mean, look, if you look at how do you establish who is a draw, right? Tell me what is a draw. How do you establish who is a bigger draw? My question's to you.
Okay.
Ultimately, the bottom line.
Right, but I know the way you're going with it, because you're going from kind of numbers, commercial value, etc., etc.
No, I'm saying who earns the most money. That's what I'm saying, right? So what I'm telling you is the money that Joshua makes against Usyk, coming off a loss, the money that he made against Ruiz, Tyson Fury's never made purses of the levels of particularly those two fights. This is because he is, Anthony Joshua, a huge draw. It doesn't really matter who's the biggest draw. That was a GQ interview, obviously, for a cover shoot, where they said, Tyson Fury's the biggest draw in boxing. And I went, no, he's not. Anthony Joshua's the biggest draw in boxing. Tyson Fury's a huge name, huge draw. I'm just saying he hasn't made money for individual purses at the level that Anthony Joshua makes. He will do if he fights Anthony Joshua, but that's the reality.
Are you saying the people that make the most money are the biggest draws?
Yes.
Always?
I mean, how else can you establish it?
It's not always the case though, is it?
Yes, because the draw is the value. The draw is the demand, the financial demand, the commercial demand. Commercial demand, financial demand leads to higher purses. So the person that makes the most money is the biggest draw. I'm not talking about how many people would turn up in a high street to sign a book. I'm talking about how much money they're making, how many spondoolies, old boy. And I know the spondoolies are on another level.
You know that, yeah?
They are.
Right, fair enough.
Sorry, I know he's your mate and everything.
No, it's all right, everyone's my mate. It's all right, it's all good, mate. You was on GQ.
Was it? Oh, yeah.
Wearing some questionable gear.
No, you should have
Did
seen...
you get to keep that stuff?
No, you should have seen the group chat with my mates about that shoot. I went in, I thought it was a wind-up. I went in and there was like a rail of just outrageous clothes. And the stylist, very like, what a gent. And he sort of said, look, it's up to you. Do you want to wear your stuff? Or I went, just stick me in it all. And then they started getting me like doing this and doing that. And I thought it was an Ant and Deck wind-up. You know that thing where they're watching? And then someone in the ear going, get him to do that, get him to do that. Because I would have done anything.
You would do it for a pound note.
There was no money.
Oh.
But I thought, it's GQ, isn't it? I'll do anything.
Final one, what's going on with him?
Sonny Edwards. I know. Well, listen, I believe we're in the final stages. Final stages of negotiations.
Hold on, let me just position you because it's right, we're right there. Look, can you just make sure we're in that?
Okay. Oh, let me. We are in final negotiations for this unification fight. The terms pretty much are agreed in general. The terms are agreed with Julio Cesar Martinez and Eddie Reynoso. Fair play to Sonny, stepped up, said he wants it. Eddie Reynoso and easy, to be honest with you. Everyone wants to unify. They believe it's the right time for their careers, so nearly done.
Yeah, and really, really happy. Hey, Bobby. It's been a very easy fight to make. I think within 24 hours, every party was happy, and then it was just about all the sort of, I don't know, the boring stuff that I don't really know too much about, the dotting the T's and looking at where the fight's biggest and whatnot. But like I said to my team, wherever the fight's biggest, we'll go there. If anything, I wanted to make it as hard and as sort of an impossible mission for me as possible. Mexico City's ideally. I mean, we all know what happened when Martinez came to London, so I would love to repay the favour. That's what I want to do. And you know, all the conversations so far have been positive. It's been a pleasure working and talking and dealing with Eddie and DAZN and Matchroom, and it just seems so seamless. So yeah, right now it looks like it's going to be done any second now, and I think it's the best fight in the division, and I think it's the best flyweight fight for a long, long time. All the other champions have been really weary of unifying. Maybe it's because there's not typically the amount of money in the division, but you know, this fight sort of bypasses that, and I think it's a big event for the division, but it's also a big event for boxing, and I'm looking forward and buzzing to be a part of it, to be honest. Like, let's be real, these are my first conversations really in big time boxing, so yeah, this fight warrants that, and I'm, like I said, I'm buzzing to be a part of it.
Are you a fan of him sparring Twitter trolls?
Not really. No, but he's going to do. Listen, there's no point telling Sonny Edwards what to do, is there? It's the biggest mistake in boxing. So let him crack on. But you know, sometimes people have got to have a little, you know, bit of humbling. So that was all right. I thought you could have bashed him up a little bit more. You took it a little bit easy on him, but he's saving himself for Julio Cesar Martinez. So.
Well, that was my sparring partner. But in my defence, I think, Eddie, if someone travelled 4 hours and started finding your front door and that, you'd have to go and sort them out. Do you know what I mean?
I agree with that.
I was with my kids and he started saying about coming to my house and £50 for anyone that's got my address. So I just I just met it.
No, but what I was more disappointed was if he did all that you didn't actually give him a good hiding. But you know.
Oh no, but I couldn't do that, Eddie.
No, you're a professional boxer.
Yeah,
he has responsibilities. I would do that, but I'd probably get chinned, and then it'd be really embarrassing. Yeah, if you've got something to say, mate, get in here and do a few rounds with me. Then he irons me out, and I look completely stupid, don't I? But anyway, we've got other interviews to do.
Thank you very much.
October 22nd looks like the date. We'll see what happens.
Thank you very much. Thank you, guys.
Put my dad in the street against a heavyweight.
I've gone back to the dad. I've punched him a few more
There's
times.
5 blokes outside my front door. Can you come and help
One
me?
hell of a fucking story, so stay tuned.
Welcome, Team Everlast, to the Team Everlast Fitness app. Download the Everlast Fitness app and find your greatness within.